So today I'm going to talk about two fridge options that I have. Both of them you can get for under $300 a piece. And I'm also going to be talking about the most affordable way to power these fridges from your vehicle, and also the way that I did it, which is a little bit different, be a little bit pricier, but still you can do it in a really budget-minded sort of way. So let's get into that. So I have another video on my channel where I do a deep dive into my dual battery system. We're not going to go in depth today on my dual battery system, but just for the purposes of how I run the fridge, I've got a 100 amp hour gel battery, in this case right here, that is wired to a fuse box, which my fridge is hardwired to. So essentially what I'm getting at is the way I've set it up is with the house battery system, a completely separate battery from my starter battery. This house battery is powered from a solar panel that's on my roof, and it's also powered from a DC to DC charger that I've got right here on the case, which runs to my starter battery and is controlled by a switch that I've got in my cab, that when I turn on that switch, it allows that battery to start charging from my starter battery, which I'll only do while the truck is running. So real quick, I just kind of want to break down how much all this costs for you guys, since we're doing this from a budget perspective. The gel battery cost me about $200, and I got that from Renogy. The DC to DC charger I got for $85, but I did get it on a Black Friday special. And the solar panel cost me $140, which I think you could still get it at that price on Amazon today. Like I said, I'll link all this stuff in the video description. Now, you also would need, if you're doing the solar panel, you'll need a solar charge controller. I got this one from Renogy and it cost me about $30. There are a couple more things that you'll need to get to be able to connect all this stuff safely, like a fuse box, or maybe even just an individual fuse if you're only running the fridge. The proper cables and wiring and all that kind of stuff. So this video isn't a how-to video, it's just what you need video. And so do some more research. I've got some videos that cover some of that stuff on my channel if you want to check into those after this one. Now, the most affordable way to do it is to run it right off your starter battery. Now, I don't recommend doing this at all. I've actually been out in the mountains and had my starter battery died on me. Thankfully, we were able to get some campers close by to help us jumpstart our car, get out of there. But sometimes I go to some off-grid locations, and it's not really a risk or situation that I want to take or put myself in. And so, with that being said, what you would need to run it off your starter battery is some wiring and a fuse. And that's pretty much it. You could just get some crimp connectors and hardwire the factory cable, whatever it is, straight up to that starter battery. Or you can get one of those little 12-volt connectors off of Amazon and just be able to just wire it yourself so it gets connected. And that's pretty much it. So definitely the most affordable way to go. I do know some people that do it that way. If you're going to do that, you definitely are going to need a quality battery. And if all you're running off your starter battery when it's off is the fridge, you may be okay. There's some really great batteries out there that definitely won't be a problem. It's just not something that I'm comfortable with, and I wouldn't recommend it. But it is definitely the most affordable way to go. If you already have a great deep cycle battery, then maybe you're in great shape for that. But it's still not something that I would personally recommend. There's definitely that option for you though. Now we're just about to get into these two fridges that I have here. But first, I do want to bring up, there's a third option to power a refrigerator. And that is going to be something like a Goal Zero or Jackery or Blue Eddy charging station. There's a lot of companies that make some really good products. The reason why I didn't really get into those is because they are pricier. And I think this video is going to maybe appeal to somebody who's looking for more of a little budget option. Those charging stations are great, they're easy, they're ready to go, plug and play, but I didn't even personally have the funds for them, so we're not going to really talk about that too much. I just wanted to throw that third option out there for somebody who is maybe looking to go that route and had the funds to do so. Now, the first fridge that I bought was this BougeRV 30-quart fridge. Now, I picked this up, I found it for about $250, $238 exactly, I think, on Amazon. And I got it, added it to my truck, and quickly realized it's just a bit too small for me to take my family on a weekend camping trip. Now, being that you don't have to store ice in this, 30 quarts is actually a decent amount of room, but we've got a family of 4 now. We kind of bring a lot of stuff between the 4 of us, and so this just wasn't quite enough room. Now, I was still really excited about this fridge. I loved how small it was, how low profile it was. I've got a deck drawer system and a camper shell, and so I'm very limited on the amount of space that I have for these refrigerators. And so this thing was just so nice and compact. I really liked it, and it's been the fridge that I actually run in my truck pretty much 24/7. I've also been able to take it out on camping trips where I just go by myself, and maybe I'm just going for a single night. This is plenty of room for somebody who's going by themselves, or maybe even a couple if you're doing like a weekend camping trip. This will probably take care of you just fine. Apologize if it's a little hard to read the screen with the direct sunlight we're in, but this refrigerator is very basic. It's got just a couple options. It is a single zone refrigerator. Basically all the directions are right here on the side, but just a couple of the basics. Obviously you got your power button, you got your setting buttons, which will allow you to go in between max and EcoBoost. EcoBoost obviously saves a little bit more energy. Max works a little bit harder to keep it at your set temperature, which I will say this refrigerator does a really good job at staying true to temperature. If you can read this screen, you can see it says 78 degrees Fahrenheit right now. That's because I actually did not have this plugged in today. I've had this one plugged in, and we're about to go on a family camping trip, so that's why this one's in here. So obviously plus or minus to raise or lower the temperature. Also in the settings menu, if you can see it, I don't know if you can, but there is voltage cutoff functions right here on the left hand side. I've got my set to low, so if the battery starts getting really low and the refrigerator senses that, it will cut off power, which can be a good and a bad thing. Now if you're like me, and I keep this thing running in my truck 24/7, just in case the battery does get a little bit low, it will cut off power and have a reading of E1. Basically, it cuts off the compressor. We'll no longer run the compressor at that voltage. That's good for me because typically I'm just storing drinks in here, and so obviously I don't want to risk damaging my house battery. And it's happened a couple times, not too often. I don't really drive my truck too much throughout the work week. I've got a separate work vehicle that I take to work, so most of the week this truck just sits and I've only got the solar panel charging the battery. So there's been a couple times where it got a little bit too low, cut off power, and then once the battery charges back up enough again, this seems to kick back on once there's enough voltage there for it to operate at whatever that cutoff rating is that you've got set. Just another look inside here. It's got just a recommended sticker for different temperatures for different items in here. You obviously can set this to freezing temperatures if you want to use it as a freezer. It also has a little divider that goes in right here. I don't ever use it, and so I don't have it in there, but there is that option for you if that's something that you're interested in. Now this thing, I feel like this thing is made pretty well. It's done pretty well for me. My wife actually has hit this with her car because after one of the camping trips, I just put it out in front of our little carport, and my wife got a little bit too close to it and actually hit it. You can see right here on the side here, but it still works just fine. And so I've been overall, especially for the price, pretty well impressed with it. My favorite thing about it is how lightweight it is and how small it is. I think I already mentioned that, but something that's kind of nice is I don't have like a fridge slide or anything like that. I just ratchet strap it into the side of my bed, just at the connection points. And so when I'm out at camp, I like to undo that ratchet strap and move it around, bring it down to the tailgate, throw it back up when I'm not using it. And since it's so lightweight, that's really not a hassle, and it's pretty enjoyable to use. The other one doesn't have that same feature. So this next model is the Alpicool T50. It's basically a 48 quart refrigerator, and this is actually a dual zone refrigerator. So one quick note, both refrigerators operate off the same type of outlet. So I just have the one outlet hardwired in my truck and switch between the two fridges as much as I want. Now this one is a little bit cooler because I have been running this one in the truck today, and It's got a bunch of my beverages in it. So this fridge is pretty cool. It's got a lot of features that this other one doesn't. One of those features is it's actually got a light. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's an LED light inside of here. Now that comes in really handy at camp, especially when it's really dark. So the light is nice. Much like the other one, you've got some of the similar functions within the settings menu as far as going between Max and EcoBoost. Right now, I don't know if you can see it here. Mine is on EcoBoost. I've got the dual zone set, change temperature plus or minus just like the other one, and you also have high, medium, or low voltage cutoff on this refrigerator as well. Okay, so let's open up the Apicool app. As you can see here, we got the fridge running. It's showing us both the left and the right degrees temperatures. From here, we can adjust the temperatures as much as we want. We can also go into other settings. Choose between Fahrenheit and Celsius. What our max temperature rating is we can set. What our minimum temperature rating is we can set. So definitely some cool features in there. Now also on the bottom you can see we can either turn off our fridge entirely, turn it back on. We can lock our settings, so if you're like me and you got some youngsters that like to play with buttons, now they can't really affect that. We can also go between Max and EcoBoost. Voltage cutoff setting we can also change down here, and then you can unpair it. So pretty cool options. At the top of the screen, it also gives you a battery capacity rating. So this could be really good if maybe you're on the road and you want to check on your battery or the temperature of your fridge. It just gives you a lot of functionality that the other fridge doesn't give you. Okay, so another function that this fridge has that the other one doesn't is wheels. It's got handles, though the other one does have these little inlets and you can still grab onto the side, no problem. But this one has actual handles, and this one's like more of a expandable one, I should say, that you can pull out while you're wheeling it, maybe from the house to the car. Sometimes I like to charge these guys up and get them all cooled down in the house with the AC adapter before I leave. So on that note, it also comes with an AC and a DC adapter. So what I've got in here right now are these Red Bull sized LaCroix cans, and I've got a full case of them. So 24 of those cans are in here on this side. Now on this side, I've got some water bottles and more drinks. These are probably all the drinks that we're gonna bring, and then I actually have, it's kind of hard to see on video, but there's still a decent amount of space right here. And this is what I'm really gonna use, just this top area for my food. Now just to kind of give you guys a better view, this does flatten out right here, and then it drops down, and I've got probably about 8 LaCroix down here on the bottom. So over a full case of LaCroix, a couple water bottles in here, just to kind of keep everything chilled. And then this whole area is what I typically use just for food. So we really like our cold beverages, and we probably have a lot more cold drinks in our cooler than a lot of people do. And so I'd probably say 75% of the cooler is for beverages and 25% for food. That's just kind of how we do things. I kind of tend to cook some really simple meals when we're out camping. Now you could definitely do it the other way around. You could have a lot less beverages and tons of room for food. If you guys are like big camp cooks, I think this really allows for the space for you to do that, considering you got all that usable space. You can take those baskets out, you can take the dividers out, and there's a lot of room for you to just kind of, considering you don't have to have ice in there, you can add just a lot of stuff in there. Now I probably should have said this earlier on in the video. Both of these refrigerators I purchased. They weren't sent to me. This video is not sponsored in any way. And so with that being said, you know, in all of my videos I give my honest feedback on something, but I definitely have some, I gave a lot of pros on these things already. I got some cons as well. Now on these guys, considering that you're paying for a budget refrigerator, installation is something that I think is a weak point when it comes to both of these fridges. Both are like really lightweight, especially when it comes to like the lids. they don't really keep that cold air in there very well, like you would expect from maybe a higher end Dometic or ARB. Those fridges are, in all honesty, just made better. Especially when the weather gets a little bit warm, these things work really hard to keep that temperature down. If you've got a full dual battery system with some power replenishment coming in, you're probably going to be just fine. However, if you've got the funds for a more quality, more expensive fridge, there's definitely a reason to do that. And there's definitely a reason why there's the difference in price when it comes to fridges like Dometic and ARB. Personally, I haven't had the funds for one of those yet, but eventually I'd love to try them. However, to kind of summarize everything, both of these fridges are incredibly affordable, and you can add them to your truck or your vehicle or whatever you have to your camping setup at a pretty affordable price. Now, a comparable size in a Dometic fridge I think is going to run anywhere from like $1,200 to $1,300. And if you're going to go out and buy like a Goal Zero or a Jackery, you're probably paying upwards of $1,000. Considering I was able to get a fridge like this and do all the power setup all for like under $600, the barrier to entry is really low on these things. And at the end of the day, I would still absolutely recommend that somebody who's considering it makes the leap if you've got the funds to do it. Maybe down the road, I will upgrade to a more quality fridge that does a better job, is more efficient. But for right now, this is definitely going to get the job done for me. And it got me in at an affordable price, which I gotta say, getting rid of the ice cooler and having to pick up ice on a daily basis was a big improvement to my camping experience. So with that being said, you guys, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you out there.